right, we'll call the meeting to order. Good meeting. We have all members of the Board of Finance, all members of the Board of Selectmen, and I'll let the Police Commission speak for themselves. How many, we have everybody from the Police Commission?
Yes,
Yes,
everybody
here. Great.
Yeah.
Then, with that, we will again recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America. And to the republic one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Eric, you're over there. Public comment online. If anybody online, Brian, David, guest, Saybrook, guest, Terry Bruce, anybody, please raise your hand if you have a comment. I don't know that anybody in the audience that, no, Mark, just adjusting your jacket. Right, no public comment. So, Mr. Chair, I will. That's you, George. We good with diving right into the presentation. We'll turn it over to the Chief of Police, William Onofrio.
Thank you. So I haven't had the pleasure of meeting everybody yet. I'm the new chief. I've been here 3 months. But I wanted to introduce, I don't know how familiar you are with my staff. This is my administrative lieutenant, Stephanie Millardo. She'll be helping me tonight as well. And administrative assistant, Jen Romano. She obviously helped me quite a bit with this, and she might help me field some of the questions as well. So I want to jump right into it. I know you thought that was going to be the only vanilla presentation you had. So this might be a little more vanilla than you're used to. Not many sprinkles in this one. I just really wanted to give you my numbers, my requests, and what I think the needs for the police department are. So to jump into it. So for this coming fiscal year, the 26-27 fiscal year, I'm asking for a $197,888 increase in the budget from last year. It is a 3.56% increase from the previous year. So I go into my main requests in this budget. What I think we should do is we should maintain the staffing levels where we are. We're currently staffing 25 full-time sworn police officers and 3 SROs. I think that, in my opinion, that's the right fit for this town, the police department, for the services that we deliver, and the call level. It seems to be working in the 3 months I've been here, seems to be working very well. We have great coverage out there. It's great for our officer safety. It's great for our citizens, as well as the EMS response. That's something that I personally haven't seen in other agencies in New Haven County. And I am so pleased to see it here. Our officers are responding to medical calls within minutes. I think if we did any reductions or eliminated that first responder program for our medical response as our officers being EMTs, I think you're going from minutes to 10, 15 minutes. Obviously the fire department, I'm very pleased with the response from the fire department. But we are the only full-time 24/7 agency in this town. And I think we need to continue to support that. And that's why my ask is to continue to fund the staffing levels exactly the way we are. I'm not asking for anything more, but I want to continue where we're at. That does include a 3% contractual raise for the officers. And that raise is in effect, that contract is in effect until June 30th of 27. So following that suit, just as important as the officers are our emergency dispatcher, emergency communication dispatcher. We currently, our staff have funding for 9 dispatchers, 1 being a supervisor. Our staffing level right now is 7. We have 2 vacancies, 1 as of recently. So 2 of the positions that are vacant, I was able to move them down to an entry level position save you'll see in the budget about $15,000. By assuming them at entry level as opposed to, one of the step grades. They are anticipated to get or projected to get in the range of a 2.5% rate of pay. They're in contract negotiation right now. We thought it was the most responsible number to find was a 2.5%. They do, you know, they're the backbone of the agency. They're our first line of call. They're taking the calls. There's about 23,000 calls that come into our agency a year. 1,800 of those are medical. The medical calls take a lot of effort and a lot of attention by the dispatchers. There's 2 dispatchers always in there. And they, from my opinion, they're really doing a great job, and the staffing level is appropriate. Same thing, I'm still tracking on the staffing levels. We have 2 current clerical and custodial staff, one being Jen, which are very, very crucial to the department, the operations and the administrative functions of the department. It would be very difficult if we had any less. You know, it's Jen and Pat Hanley. Pat runs quite a bit of things at the police department. Is beyond custodial work, maintenance. He's kind of a all hands on deck type of person. Very pleased to have him and Jen, and I couldn't be happier with their performance so far. Their unions are requiring a 3% rate of pay rate increase until June 30th, 27. Moving on to operating expenses. This is the part of our current budget that has me a little concerned. When I look at our budget and where we're at, what our numbers, what budget line items are in the red, which ones are in the black. Keep seeing a recurring pattern. A lot of our operating expenses are underfunded right now. And I kind of have an understanding of why that is. You know, our electricity bill, our water bill, our building maintenance, our police accountability accounts, those are all significantly underfunded. I'll cover that a little further into this presentation. And going forward, with my anticipation of coming to a close to, if not a full staffing level, there isn't going to be a whole lot of surplus from salary in this budget going forward. So some of the accounts that have been underfunded in the past that we were able to balance out because we had some unspent salary funds, I don't anticipate having that next year. So I want to make sure that our liabilities for our building and our operating expenses are covered in this budget. And I'll give you the actuals on those numbers, and I'll show you where my increases are, why my asks are for those. So this is one of the most important requests for the department. We have a very young department, very eager, but very young. They're doing a good job out there. To retain these officers and to properly develop them into their role as veteran officers with specialized skills and go beyond the basic level of police knowledge, we need to continue to develop them. And that requires funding to send the training classes, to continue tracking their progress and to develop them and to retain them. We can't just train an officer once, throw them on the streets, and expect that that's all the training they're ever going to need, besides the requirements from the Police Academy. You have to develop these officers. You have to find their interest. You got to kind of feed that a little bit. You got to give them specialized skills, and it kind of feeds into their interest and keeps them here. I'm not talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I think we do need to increase a little bit of that funding. So I do have some flexibility to send these officers to schools that I think benefit the department and the officer themselves. One of the big drivers on this request is our EMT certifications for officers. Right now, we're behind, every officer within 3 years, per Article 12 of the contract is supposed to be, EMT certified. We're not even close to that right now. It's expensive to do that. It's about $3,000 per officer, plus overtime expenses to do that. My ambition is to get 5 officers, in training and certified within this current fiscal year that we're operating on. And then my next fiscal year, which is this request, to do at least another 5 officers and keep tracking that level until, including myself, by the way, to keep tracking that level till we are, fully certified. Every officer is an EMT, and we're there and we're continuing training, and that also requires maintenance of that as well. So the officers that are already EMTs, they got to do refreshers, and we got to send them for additional training. And you know, that is one of the most important components to this department outside of law enforcement function, is the medical service that we provide. Okay. So this might be a little bit of the sprinkle you're looking for, but this is probably all you're gonna get. So I really just wanted to go over my assessment as a new chief here. Somebody from the outside, essentially looking in and giving me a report of where we're at with this department and where we're tracking. Like I said, we have 23 officers right now. We're sworn. We have a 25-man sworn man or woman, sorry, sworn full-time staffing level that we're trying to reach. We have 7 dispatchers. We're authorized to have 9. Like I said, we have 23,000 calls coming in a year and 1,861 medical calls. We're tracking to try to get those levels full. Stephanie or Lieutenant Lombardo today was doing interviews for entry-level candidates for both entry-level police officers to try to find that one officer that we're looking for, and the 2 dispatchers. We have 3 people.
We had 5 off, so today, we probably have about 15 or 20 altogether. I did 5 interviews for police today and 3 for dispatchers. More in the next coming days.
So we're getting interest, and you know, the beauty of that is we're able to be selective. So look for 1 person for an officer and 2 for dispatchers. We can be very selective. I'm not looking to rush into that hiring process, but we're trying to see what we have applying. And I want to be selective, and I want to get the best possible candidate, because we're choosing 1. We're not going to rush into that, but we're going to make sure that we are fully staffed by the end of the year. We do have recruitment going on for the number 2 position in the department, the administrative captain, which is a non-union position. That just got posted last month. We have it open for another 2 weeks. We have about 10 candidates so far that have applied. And we, speaking to the recruiter, anticipates most of those candidates will probably come in that last week. He said it's very common, especially for an administrative job in the police department. They will get an influx of applications in the last week. So we have that going on as well, and that will be the 24th or 25th officer. Like I said, you know, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing of the police department. They're very competent, very proactive, and hardworking. You have a very, very active police department. Your patrol division is doing more motor vehicle activity than I've seen in my entire career, and to be completely honest. They're very active. They're being very fair out there. There's about an 80% verbal warning rate when they're pulling over cars. So the focus out there is to correct the behavior, educate the public, but not to be punitive, not to be overly heavy-handed. You know, obviously that 20%, I think it's actually a little less than that, requires other actions, whether it be tickets, summons, you know, some of those situations, some of that reckless driving behavior requires other tactics, but for most part, they're being very fair, but they're being seen and they're very active out there. A lot of our officers are doing additional duties outside of their normal scope, patrol or dispatch. They're taking on investigative functions. They're taking on training assignments, community engagement initiatives, and taking on specialized training, specialized assignments in accident or reconstruction. and some peer support, some community policing initiatives. Our experience level, our average officer out of all 25, our tenure is at 5.65% years. The average for the United States for the tenure of officers is at 14 years. So like I said, we're very young. I don't necessarily see that as a negative though. Me coming in as a new chief, I think that's actually a very positive thing for me. I'm able to coach, train, and mold these officers the way that I think that we should be policing this community. So I think we don't have, officers just ingrained in a pattern that I have difficulty changing behavior and ways. So I think that's a good thing. But like I said, we do have to continue to develop them, and it is more expensive to train young officers than it is to train veteran officers that have been with us for 20, 25 years. And that being said, I really want to focus on creating a really positive work environment, encourage professional growth within our agency, skill building, and opportunities for specialization within our agency. So our facility, which drives a lot of expenses in this budget, you'll see, it's almost 10 years old now, and we're kind of starting to feel that a little bit. We are starting to experience an increase in maintenance and replacement costs, things that are recently that entered the normal service life, or just really need to be maintained a little better. Our HVAC system, we're having some issues. We've had to invest quite a bit this year into, as well as the plumbing infrastructure. We're having some plumbing issues, so that kind of drove a lot of expenses this year. But we need to be proactive with the maintenance. We need to repair what gets broken, obviously. But I want to be ahead of it, and you'll see a slight increase in the building maintenance. I think it was $5,000. The fleet, you'll see this in capital. The fleet of patrol cars, our Tahoes, they're now 4 years old and beginning to show the wear and tear of the high use and the engine hours that we're putting on them. We're starting to see a lot of mechanical failures based on the high mileage and fatigue to the emergency equipment and the auxiliary components. My conclusion for my assessment highlights key areas that ensure our department continues to deliver effective public safety services. I want to sustain full staffing levels for patrol and communications. I want to invest in professional development and career growth and retention programs. I want to plan proactively for maintenance costs to protect long-term infrastructure investments. And I want to allocate resources for vehicle fleet renewal to maintain operational readiness. So, like I said, our ask this year is 3.56% increase. This shows you the 8-year pattern of what the asks were from the department. I think we're right in line. Last year, it made this budget a little difficult. It was only 1.82%. There wasn't a big need because I think the staffing levels were relatively low. There wasn't a great anticipation of filling all those positions in that year, but we're there now. So I can't sustain a 1.82% increase. So that's why you had to see it jump up a little bit. So I redeveloped this budget using a lot of the current existing formulas and data and actuals. A lot of the formulas work. There's some mathematical equations in this budget book that really put us pretty close to what especially for overtime, our costs are going to be. I did make some reductions based on being fully staffed. Went from an 80% coverage rate to a 75%, with what I'm anticipating that when officers take the days off that we'll have to backfill. So like I said, we're using the same formulas and assumptions as previous years. And I think Leanne helped develop those, and it works. I want to maintain efficient, streamlined operations. and preserve the current staffing levels. This will allow me to support safe and efficient and effective departmental operations. So your budget drivers here, the big ones are our salaries, the benefits, and the workers' compensation. Our personal expenses account for 91% of the budget. Overtime is another driver. It's significant. So I gave this, I know it was small, so I knew it'd be hard to read on the spreadsheet, so we gave everybody a handout as well. Speaking of Leanne, we talked about how we could make this budget and the accounts a little easier to digest and to operate with. So I want to give you whole numbers for the overtime as opposed to all the breakdowns. The math is still, we still use the same math to get to these numbers for the vacation day coverage, the additional hours, the extra personnel. But I thought it was easier to give you whole numbers for the overtime requests. So our request for field services for this year, it's in the middle, it's $552,000. Our actual from the 25 budget, we spent $607,000. And it was budgeted for 471. So like I said, I was able to show a slight reduction in what I anticipate using because we are fully funded and I am anticipating to have to backfill less shifts. I mean, fully staffed, I'm sorry. And I am anticipating to have to backfill less shifts. So it reduced that a little bit. So I don't anticipate having to spend the 607 that we did last year. But I do think the $552,000 is accurate. That's field services, so that's for the officers. The support services, the dispatchers and the clerical and custodial staff, the overtime ask is $178,000. The actual last year was 191 and it was budgeted at $171,000. We'll move on to the general expenditure. So I want to break down every account and what my ask is and where my increases are and where I can see reductions. So I'm going to give you the actual accounts that I'm increasing and if you have any questions on the other ones, please ask. But the ones that I'm not going to highlight, I think are flat funded and they work and that we're close to the number, not at the number that we're spending. In the middle, the professional education services, our ask is $38,000 this year. We're asking for a pretty substantial increase in that account by $18,000. What we actually spent this year in this account was $51,000. And I'll tell you what drives that account. And so this year, out of that $38,000, what I anticipate if it's funded, to train 3 officers at EMT, $3,000 a piece. I anticipate having to train 1 officer, pay $7,500 for the send to the police academy. I still want to use, every year we have what's called the Blue Line firearms trailer come in. It's a shoot, don't shoot trailer. It really is a nice training and I think it keeps our officers very proficient as opposed to just static shooting at a target. And it comes to us, it saves us some overtime costs by bringing it to us. That costs us $6,000 a year. And I think it's great training and I want to continue it. I do have an ambition of joining either the LEC or the South Central Criminal Justice Council. That's $12,000 a year. It's pretty much a subscription to join the council, and they provide in-service training opportunities for us. They provide our promotional testing, our entry-level testing, our oral boards, regionalization services, and just it's almost daily training if we wanted to take advantage of it. So it could save us in the long term some training costs. I would like to see the department be part of that. We haven't been in the past. We're one of the only agencies around and in the state that don't participate in one of the councils. If that account is fully funded and those what we spend and we will if it's funded. That accounts for $37,500 of the $38,000 that I'm asking for in that account. So then I move over to the other column on the right, the police accountability mandates. I asked for an increase from 2,500 to 4,000. It's a $1,500 increase. And what that increase is for is our drug screenings for officers, which are required to officers have to take a drug test every 3 years. And psychological testing for officers. They have to take a psychological test every 5 years. And then you have your one-offs where me as a chief feel that I want to have an officer tested for a certain reason or another. So I'd like to have a little bit of fun to be able to do that as well. That the drug screen costs $300 for an officer, and the psychological testing costs $400 per officer. That pretty much accounts for almost all of that account. Our actual this year, we only spent $1,200. It's not because there's not a need. We just, I think we were in flux and we didn't take advantage of it, and we have to catch up a little bit in this fiscal year. Moving down, the building grounds and maintenance account. Asking for $35,500. It's a $5,000 increase. Our actual in that account is $62,500. Like I said, we had HVAC, we had plumbing issues, we had some locks issues. We have landscaping services. There's a lot of different things that come out of that. And I think a reasonable amount is at $35,000. And I'm hopeful we can live within that. But I didn't want to go up an insane amount in that account. I think 62 is hopefully an anomaly. I think we can live with 35. The water bill. I increased that by $1,000. Our actual in that account, what we spent is $3,856. So we asked for $3,800. The rental of computer equipment. They asked for an increase of $3,000 to $16,301. What our actual is $16,301. The electricity. We're asking for $73,000. It's an $18,000 increase. The actuals for what we spent this year in electricity is $73,164. We'll keep a few lights off. So, the professional services. This is a new account. This is $81,000. This is a contract that was entered into 6 months ago for IT services for the department. It's through a contracted service to JTS IT services. They're really doing a great job. And I think it's exactly where we need to be. But we eliminated another account. So we had a account that was funded for IT services. It was a stipend that was paid and some additional per diem money. It was at $59,005. So we eliminated that in another part of the budget, and we added the $81,500 for this contracted service. That contracted service exists until August of 26 for the contract. That's an increase of $22,495 that I'm asking for to maintain that service.
So this we had a person, and that person retired. So I called around to some other agencies. I worked with Ryan Walsh on this. He left, and we had 3 bids on this. And this is the company that ended up winning it. They were all similarly priced. But we don't have one person now. We have a company, and it's 24/7. You have a problem, that person's on vacation, you can still get coverage. It's $20,000 more, and that is the way a lot of the other agencies are going, based on my calls in the area for towns that have municipal police departments. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's no overtime expense occurred on that either. I think $81,000 for an IT professional, and especially the level of service we're getting, is a steal. In Handon, we had 2 IT people. It's a larger agency, a bigger building, but we're gonna be same level of service. I mean, this, I'm very pleased with this. I said think the average IT salary in a municipal environment is probably $125,000 to $150,000. And we're getting by with what we're doing. So I think this is a good thing to do. I'm moving on to the next slide, and let's, if anybody wants me to slow down or stop or any questions, please jump in and let me know. Obviously at the end, we could talk as well, but if there's a point that you want to make or want me to elaborate on, please let me know. I'm on to operating budget field services. Their first, salaries, it's a 3% increase, for the officers' salaries. You'll see the red, the vacation day coverage. That account, just so you know, if you look at the previous, fiscal year, this is a much bigger number, but it's because we consolidated two accounts. We consolidated the holiday coverage and vacation day coverage into one account, so holiday is now eliminated, that's why that's a much bigger number. But I was able to reduce the overall overtime expense there because of the staffing levels we have and the anticipation of having to cover, less shifts this year because of that. So a lot of this it's either contractual, or it's numbers that are kind of outside our control. A lot of it's insurance and FICA and workers' comp related. Not a whole lot to speak of unless anybody really wants me to jump in on any of these accounts. And like I said, we typically, we are calculating a 3% increase in the officers' salaries, 3% in the support staff, and a 2.5% in the dispatch. And that also covers, we did the same for the overtime accounts. So the operating budget for support services, this is where I was able to show some reductions. The emergency communication salaries, like I said, we had 2 vacancies and I brought both those positions down to the entry level, which showed us a $15,000 savings on their salaries. Down at the bottom, the community service officers. So that's a program I'm pleased to have. Definitely a nice resource. It definitely gives our officers a little breather out there. Nice to have extra hands on deck at times, but we weren't using it to the level we're funding it at. So I cut 400 hours out of that. To save ourselves $7,758. We were budgeting at 906 hours is what we're anticipating using that service for. These are per diem community service officers. Brought it down to 500. I think we've been well within that. And I think it really aren't going to reduce much of the service to the town or relief for the officers because we weren't using it. This is probably right sizing that account and budgeting for what we're using. On the right side, the IT personnel, that's the $59,000 I spoke of that we eliminated from the budget because of the contracted service. The same thing, custodial support. We have a full-time custodian building maintainer. And then we also I've been budgeting for an additional 10 hours of per diem support by a part-time person that we just weren't using. We also have a service that comes in and assists in cleaning bathrooms and things and the floors. So it was a little redundant and we weren't using it. So I cut it out of the budget and that was a savings of $8,700. Moving on to the Marine Patrol. This is it really is a necessity, Saybrook. We have so much coastline to cover, the river, the sound. You have a lot of boating activity. I think this is a worthwhile investment to continue. These are pretty much reflective of what we used last year. We just kind of duplicated the actuals and But I did, I'll show you the next, sorry, next slide. The total budget for Marine Patrol is $66,000. I reduced the hours that we're gonna be using the boat. And this is, again, this is right sizing the budget, to the hours that we actually used it for. So I cut 96 hours out of what we anticipated using the boat and showing almost a 9% savings or a $6,000 savings, there. And I don't think you won't see any reduction in coverage, because we just weren't using it. We don't have the staff to use it, or it was overlapping on other, priorities of ours.
Who actually uses the boat? Is it a sworn officer?
So how we operate it is you have two people on the boat. You have a per diem captain, which is just somebody with a captain's license that we hire. A lot of them are retired officers, but some of them are just boat captains. And on that, then you also have a certified sworn officer with them. So that's how it's operated.
Thanks.
And that officer is usually out there at time and a half.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's, it's in terms of regular duty coverage, it's not often we're able to do that.
It's not.
And in time of emergency, the officer come off the road and go on the boat.
And I asked, there are so many boat, law enforcement in the area, Line, Essex, Eastham, Clinton, I mean, everybody has a boat. And I've asked around because this became an issue about 2-3 years ago, saying, why are they getting time and a half on the boat? I asked around and everybody's like, it's all time and a half. You don't have a regularly scheduled shift for a boat. So you're asking an officer to cover. So also not unusual. But
No.
it was, a couple questions were asked a few years ago, and I did ask around about that.
No, I think it's very accurate. How often do you think we ever have a regular duty officer on the boat?
So when I was always on the boat, I would get pulled from my shift if there was enough coverage. And if someone doesn't pick up the shift. So then we can use someone on the roadway to put on the boat, and we would do that a lot because I enjoy being on the boat, so I know I did it quite often. And that's only if someone doesn't pick it up, because sometimes people don't want to work every Saturday, every Sunday, and they want them to get off. Because we have such a younger staff, I think they're all gonna want to pick up that shift and it's gonna get filled. So it would go out on rotation,
Okay.
but it can go both ways, it just tends to be time and a half usually.
And that's also at my discretion where I think the resource is best used. Sometimes it might behoove me to keep 4 officers on the road. Certain times of day or weekends, as important as the boat is, it's, we have a lot of roads to cover as well and calls for service. But I think right sizing that budget to bring it down to the 400 hours, it was 400 hours. The 400 hours. They just put us right where we need to be. I'm trying to give you a budget that is reflective of actually what we're spending and what our use is. There's not going to be a lot of surplus, a lot of unspent. Trying to right size everything and accurately budget for this coming year. So this is our fleet status. This will I'm kind of going into the capital a little bit here. If you look at your budget book, there is some other requests in here for other items that working with Leanne, we were able to find other funding sources for. So what the capital is really going to be, they ask, and I'll go into this, is for patrol cars, 6 patrol cars. And it's the IT infrastructure, which we ask for every year just to maintain our servers and our hardware. But when you look at your budget book, there's a few other cars. There's 2 admin cars and a K9 vehicle that we do have funding for already for purchase. So I don't need to ask for capital for that. I will be coming to your board for permission to make that purchase. But I don't want to say disregard it here, but it's not going to be my ask. It's good to have the information. And then the same thing for the Marine Patrol, the boat needs 2 new engines. We're costing that out right now, but in the outside job revenue account, there's currently $52,000, which I think is gonna come pretty close to covering that cost. So I'm not gonna be asking for that in capital either. So my request for capital, and I'll come back to the fleet status, is to purchase 6 patrol cars. Our current patrol cars are almost 4 years old. Definitely showing some wear, and definitely we need to insert some new life into our fleet. Each car equipped costs us $75,000. We are funding a lot of the equipment from off budget accounts that we already have funding in. So we're able to reduce the cost per car to $75,000. The ask for intertoggles again, they're duplicating what we have. It's $453,000 and $20 for 6 autos. And then we're asking for a round number of $10,000 for our hardware replacement to maintain our infrastructure of our information technology at headquarters, in the cruisers, and some of it, is it radio? No, it's not radio. It is, actually covers some communications components as well.
The chief, as this board knows, we put money aside. We finished paying off the financing on the current vehicles, which are model year 2021. And in fact, are 2 budget cycles into, or are right now, we have about $200,000 in the off budget, police vehicle fund as we're designating it. So the request is to purchase 3 vehicles, will come within that 200,000 by the end of this fiscal year. Then to buy 6 more vehicles, is that correct?
Yes.
Using the $90,000 that we're putting aside for its police vehicles as a funding mechanism to finance the remaining 6 vehicles over the next 4 or 5 years. And that, now, possibly using, if it's a 4-year model, 90 times 4 is 360, doesn't add up to the total cost of what, 460, or, yeah.
53.
So it might be that we're using some of that administrative services account, which is intended to help fund expenses, where police officers are on the side of the street and we're making money off the vehicles that are helping, whether it's, Connecticut Water or Frontier or whatever. Is that basically correct?
That's accurate.
And one other statement you made, these Tahoes that you're replacing are model year 21s. Presumably the 6 new vehicles are gonna be model year 27.
Yes, we have to wait for
Right,
July.
but you're still, you're 6 model years, so you're not, you're saying
Right.
they're about 4. You're
Yeah,
gonna be replacing model year, cars that are 4 years old with, or 6 years old with cars that are.
We also didn't get them on the road for probably a year and a half.
yeah,
It's-
Right, they ought to be out,
COVID,
so
we to get
these cars are gonna be,
Explorers, but it won't retrofit into a Tahoe, so. Yeah, we didn't have them. I mean, we need the cars, but I'm just saying the 21 really isn't accurate because they weren't in service at that.
they came in service, bits and pieces.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, so the same thing with the boat motors, that's the same outside job revenue. So the boat we used a lot this year for the ONG, the ONG Bridge project. They hired quite a bit of extra duty use of the boat. They really keep the weight down because we have a lot of steel workers and cranes and such. So we got $52,000 in revenue from ONG this year that we're looking to apply to the boat motors. I think this coming summer, I'm anticipating the same. A lot of the boat usage will be on that account, that job, which is kind of nice. It covers an area that we want to cover. We want to keep the weight down over there for their safety and for everybody else's as well. It keeps you know, the boat is obviously running with there, but it's, you know, the maintenance and the wear and tear is reduced because it's kind of static there. So I think it's a good revenue source and obviously it helps our officers, and it helps the ONG and everybody on the river. the- This is the status of our fleet. These are our miles, this is where the cars were assigned. My anticipation is, if, you know, the 6 patrol cars, will go to patrol. And 6 of these vehicles will, replace the extra duty fleets. And the SRO cars. Now, and one of them will be the SRO car. The other, the 2 admin cars, one will replace car 1, one will replace my car. Car 1 was, transferred over to the, fire marshal, for his use.
And the fire marshal's car was transferred to the fire department. To get rid of a very old Ford Explorer, like the 2012 or 13. And they replaced that with the 2017 Tahoe that the fire marshal was driving.
So then there's, the other car will be a K9, it'll be a pickup truck, which is kind of most units are going to pickup trucks for the K9 services now. And that car is very old, the one we're replacing is 127,000 miles, barely running.
And there should be some revenue that comes in from the sale of these vehicles.
Yeah,
Some, I mean,
I mean,
not expecting a lot, but
some of them are in really rough shape. But yeah, a few $1,000s per car. Same thing with boat motors too. So there's some revenue that's coming with the trade-in of the boat motors when we do replace them as well. Yeah, they're both 3,500 for the boat motors. But yeah, each car, you know, I do know one agency that'd be willing to buy our old patrol cars in Hamden. That's kind of what they do. So, yeah, if we're trading in 6 cars, you probably can maybe $20,000. So, so that's really what I have to say. I'm open to questions. Yeah,
So we'll have to go Monday through Thursday, ONG.
yeah, but I don't. The Marine Patrol, the other question was, is the Marine Patrol, still Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I don't know that I want to stick to a set schedule on that.
Cause everyone knows what they're out there.
Exactly, nor do I want to advertise it.
well, you do. A little bit.
So, you know, there might be some changes a little bit to that, but yeah, I mean, we have to put the boat out when the traffic is there. Does anybody have any questions?
You spoke about recertifying as an EMT. How often is that done? Every 3 years or is it longer than that?
The research 3 years, right? Yeah, it's less expensive than the initial certification. But yeah, every officer has to, but we don't really have that problem right now, with only 5 officers that are EMTs. But we do have to maintain that as well. The big expense there is getting the officers that don't have it certified.
Are there any officers in training right now?
No, no, about $3,000, not accounting for the overtime cost of sending them to the training. I'm trying to find a service that'll come to us and, you know, even we gotta open it up to outside agencies to also use our facility with that trainer. Trying to see if there might be some savings doing it that way. But we're within the month or so, we're gonna have a few officers enrolled.
So how do you operate it right now? If the police are first responders, do you always make sure that one of those 5 is on a shift?
So they're medical first responders, MRT,
So, EMR.
EMR. They're EMRs, so they have a lower level of training. That's where they're at with their training. They're not EMTs. The contract requires EMTs, and that's where we want to be.
Right.
EMR, you know, they're very, very basic.
Yes.
Am I right that every certified officer in Connecticut has to have EMR certification or no?
So they used to come out of academy with it. That's not the case anymore. The Chiefs of Police Association, petition to the academy to change that. and add some other, classes in place.
Just have a quick question, Chief. The police accountability mandate, is there a reason that's the drug testing and psych testing you talked about? Is there a reason that's a separate line item called police accountability mandates? I mean, I'm assuming it was there when you came here, but
Yeah, it was.
it's just strange to have a separate.
It could have gone on our professional development, to be honest. We could potentially merge that. It was just easier to explain it that way
Okay,
too.
all right. And then, how many canines do we have?
We have one,
We have
guys, the narcotics detection dog.
Okay, and is it really, it's, I'm assuming it's not just, grooming and feeding, there must be other, other stuff in there for the $12,000.
Yeah, there's a stipend as well.
Okay, okay, all right, okay, for the officer that
Yep.
has the dog, okay,
Right.
thank you.
Other municipal departments, I mean, I'm just gonna use departments that are close by, East Lyme, Clinton, Madison, they have canines also?
Yeah, they did patrol canines. So we have a drug detection canines, we not a patrol canine.
Okay, so would you call, if you needed a patrol canine, would you call them? Is that what would happen?
Yeah, we're state, the True Path has a few.
Yeah, right.
There's a few around we have in the recent, so the Sky can't do tracks. Or anything like that, so we would call, mutual aid resources.
And, I mean, looking forward, in terms of mutual aid or more I mean, we're not gonna regionalize the police department. Although there's talk of that too. But that's a real 30,000-foot view, but what do you see the Old Saybrook Police Department doing in terms of reaching out and becoming more of either a regional resource or seeking resources from other departments?
Yeah, and that's part of that, joining that law enforcement council. Is that it does allow us to join things like the accident and reconstruction team. Which is every municipality that joins, and one officer gets trained as an accident and reconstructionist. And when there is a serious motor vehicle accident, those officers go as a group to wherever town it's in, and the officer from that town assumes the investigation, but everyone else is on hands on deck to assist. So it's a mutual aid resource, but it's a mutual team. There's a lot of options for that. That's one I'm exploring. We're already looking at training a few officers to be accident and reconstructionists. There's also a motor vehicle enforcement and DUI enforcement teams that's in our area. And then there's regional SWAT teams as well, which is a nice resource because state police has 4 teams in the state, and they're all different sectors and they're not always available. So that's also something that I'd be exploring, the potential train one officer to join a team and give us a resource on the entire team. Yeah, that is the way of the future, especially for an agency our size, is to share resources with other agencies, including True Path. The state police has a lot of resources sitting up on the highway that we necessarily don't use as much as we should. And diving into that and trying to make those relationships.
Carl, can you just remind us on the hourly rate for the Marine Patrol that when acting Chief Walsh was here, that was over this past year?
Yeah.
What the hourly rate is for the boat? Oh, and then when the boat goes out on for Amtrak or O&G, they're paying the officer's salary plus the boat, right?
Yes.
Separate though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that outside job revenue. So
Like $200 an hour or something?
125 or 150 was for the boat.
Yeah.
175 per hour was the boat. And the operators were getting $37.50 and the officers were getting their contractual overtime outside job rate.
Yeah, so so for our regular Marine Patrol, not extra duty, not time and a half. The officers are $68.87. And that is actually, I'm sorry, it's time and a half rate for them. The boat handler is getting $25.63 an hour.
Thank you.
And future revenue, once we exceed what we need for the engines, will go into a Marine Patrol account in case there need to be upgrades or future expenses with regards to the boat. That boat is 10 years old. It was a used boat when we got it. So the question did come up, and the chief addressed it. Are we throwing good money after bad here? Putting 2 new engines on a boat that is 10 or 15 years old. But we did due diligence on this, and we're satisfied that putting these engines on a boat is a good investment on this boat.
Part of the quote, that we got is a full inspection, recertification of the boat. So we can, the one hand, make sure we handle those engines and it's seaworthy. And we just had the boat serviced, and that was one of the things we asked to inspect all the welds. There were some relatively minor repairs we had to do. So the boat was just inspected before we even dove into this, to even consider it. We had it inspected, and so they got a clean bill of health. So supposedly, I mean, it's a safe boat. I guess it's the brand safe boat. I've talked to all, area departments that are operating the marine units, and that's what everybody wants to be using, is the safe boats. Unfortunately, Coast Guard is no longer turning those over. They went in another direction, and there's no more surplus safe boats, because we looked into that as well. To see it was, more fiscally sound just to go to the Coast Guard and ask for another boat, as opposed to putting motors and into a boat that is already 10 years old for us. But they don't exist anymore from that surplus.
There's a lot of boats in the area. I mean, Westbrook, I think, has a brand new boat, like brand new.
Yeah.
I think, I know Clinton has boats, Essex, I mean, everybody.
Clinton
Every
has the same
department
boat
has
as
a boat.
us.
What's that?
Clinton has the identical boat as us. I think Westbrook does have a newer boat.
They do.
I don't know if that's a police boat though. That might be a fire? I'm not 100% sure. Obviously DEP has some boats. Line.
And there's,
Yeah, but it's an important asset
It
in
is.
this region because we sit right in the middle of
it,
Coast Guard Station in London and Clinton, so the response time is minimal. It's
it needs to be out there. We know that
long.
from
So-
the history of what's happened on the river and in the sound, so.
So you're saying you're willing to buy a new boat?
You wanna put the chief on that already? 3 months in?
No, not to set that.
Yes.
So the chief and I, Chief and I went through the budget, about a month ago. And, I mean, I've seen a lot of this, and this is kind of where he and I ended up. Obviously, this isn't the last time you'll see this budget as Board of Finance. This is just a first look at it, presentation. Police Commission has voted on it. Not yet. All right, so,
There's murder thing.
right, okay, so.
If I.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions, so if I may.
First of all, it's your meeting also.
Thank you. As for presentation, thank you very much for taking the time and pointing out doing this. If I can quickly go through a couple of items, page 3 on the report, this is the police officers, their salaries and so on. So you have a total of 28 police officers.
3 of my SROs.
Correct, these are really all 20, actually 29 names. 29 rows in here, so presumably they get started with the Delta is the person identified to be.
No, so the Delta isn't a position.
Sure, I understand, so
Yeah.
that's the first thing, but that's the extra one, so.
Yeah, it's just an increase there.
So the police officer 24, fourth from the bottom, is that person been identified with?
No, that's the vacancy.
That's the patient.
And we dropped that to the trainee level, and they go to
Okay.
certified officer
So
level.
when a brand police officer comes in, the very first year, do they get a step every single year? When they come in?
No, not until, was it 1 year after completion of FTO?
No,
So it depends on when they finish FTO. So like if they finish FTOing June 27th and then July 1st hits, for their contract, they go up a step.
So they get it on July 1st after
Okay,
completion
so
of
but
training.
pretty soon, so but then after that, they get a step every year. So it's essentially none of your police officers or none of your police officers is step 1 and 2, so they've all been given up 3 years or more.
At least 1 year. So some of them, so I know that's confusing. So some, like you said, were at 1 year or just over 1 year, while July 1st came, and they got their step
So actually, they already came with a year with a,
No, they finished their training
okay,
and then whenever July first, the way the contract is written, July first gives them a step,
okay,
not the full year of service.
I see. But.
It doesn't always happen that way. If they start after July first, then it takes a full year. Sometimes if they start at the right moment, they're very lucky to get.
But your youngest police officer is on step 3. So,
Right, because those two, once they got off training, they get step 1, so they basically hit step 1 in June.
I see.
Then when July first hit, they automatically bump to step 2, because that's how their contract.
oh, I see.
And then they go to step 3 the next July first. It used to go on their anniversary date, but when they did their new contract, it's just July first,
So they could be here like 18 months, maybe.
basically.
Step two.
Yeah.
Thank you, right, thank you for that. And you going? Yeah, so I appreciate the way you've done the overtime sheet, and I like it very much. So right now, your overtime, request for field services, so fiscal year 27 is about $500,000. Which accounts for almost 20% of the total police salary, it's about $2.5 million. And so, and I understand how the math works in terms of what needs to be done and so on, but I'm just wondering in terms of, at what point does it make more sense to just hire additional police officers to cover?
So then you have to pay all the other.
Yeah,
benefits.
I mean-
You have health insurance, you have dental, you have life
Understood.
insurance, or you have to pay education stuff. There's, I think we've asked that question
But there is,
before.
but there is a math, right? There is a math that can be done, right? 20% is pretty substantial as well, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers they're realistic, based on the coverage that we're asking for. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't suggest to start hiring part-time officers to.
No, I wasn't really suggesting that, it was just almost, at what point do you start to do the math, or then we have a 26 officer?
I can't say that I've done that, to be honest with you. I've usually been working off the 25 officers, full-time officers, that I think is the biggest way to manage the department.
I know in years past, that question has been asked, and if you take just the salary, if you hire another full-time person, and you add on all of their benefits, it will far outweigh probably that number.
So the fringe rate is 50-60% maybe.
You need a favorite officer?
No, but I can look up, let me just look up.
If you have workman's comp on somebody, there's.
Yeah, they'll be in touch from them.
Because of what is it, workman's comp on a police officer?
4.71.
Yes.
Oh, that's low.
Yeah, it's lower than years past. It went from 5 to 4.1.
So an all-in probably 125 to 150 with benefits, that's that question,
Okay, yeah,
depending on what they choose.
right.
But some of that overtime is just going to be, if there's an accident and that 26 officer may not be of benefit, if it's an officer who worked 8 hours and now has to work another 8, because of an emergency, it might be a benefit for filling in for a sick officer, but is that part of that
No, the
number?
vacation, was.
Yeah.
It's
Usually covered.
No, right, but yeah, that would be covered as well.
Well, I guess the question is, how much overtime does it need to be to justify the 26 guy? Right,
Yeah.
more than 20%, even less than 60, right? There's a point.
Yeah, it's a math problem,
Fringes,
yeah. But
a lot.
We've all seen a pushback when we wanted 25.
Okay, I
I mean, we get this every single year. It's like, do you really need 25
Yeah.
people? And then we have to go through the whole equation of how those numbers work out.
I would imagine it is like an industry standard for a life-size department.
Yeah, there is, I mean, there's 4 or 5 different ways you can figure out your staffing level, what you need based on call volume or, the population size, but. I'll tell you, it's working. I think we have great coverage out there, we're not too much coverage either, so. I think it's a safe way to operate this department, the officers and the citizens. This one, we're expecting them to do the EMT calls as well.
If chief, per contract, there has to be a minimum of 3 per shift, right?
Yes,
Okay.
so 1 sergeant and 2 officers.
Chief, the SROs, they just work when school's in session, it's like per day, they get paid per day.
Yes, so it's 180 days, it's the school calendar.
Okay, so it's not as though they're full-time and then they go through to something else when school's not in session, they're just there from schools.
This year, the school, I mean, they are eligible for the overtime in the summers. But, you know, it's really, their focus is the school days.
To the private duty, I think you call it, where you're, working for Eversource or the water company or somebody. Does that, I know there's a lot of that, that we have to cover. Do you find that the department ever has to call in people and pay them overtime because too many officers are out on private assignment?
No,
Okay.
their shifts take priority, so they can't.
Oh, you can tell them like, no, sorry, we can't cover it. You gotta reschedule it.
Yeah, or they're
Okay.
not eligible for the job.
Okay,
So yeah, their scheduled, workday takes priority over,
Okay.
for themselves eligible.
But yes, we can tell a private contractor, you can't start.
okay, yeah, I wasn't sure how that
Yeah.
worked. Okay.
You don't have a copy available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And every job that is bid, we tell them, you need to schedule your officers 48 hours in advance,
Mhm.
and if you don't, you won't be able to work.
Okay.
And so they usually do it weeks and weeks in advance.
What's the policy for what you charge them? Just popped in my head.
Make money.
So everybody gets charged the same amount, car and a cop.
So master sergeant rate, so it's time and a half master sergeant, so every officer gets the same rate.
Is there anything telling you you can't charge them more if you decided to? Make more revenue? I have no idea, just.
Yeah, no, good question, and that question was addressed about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When, it was determined, maybe even more than that, actually. And the rate was increased significantly at that point to more of what was determined to be a market rate. What we should be charging for a vehicle that is running
Mhm.
and sitting at a site.
Be interesting if the rates went up as much as electricity and cable, but I digress.
I would say, from my assessment, we're probably right where we need to be for what we're charging.
And those are town jobs too.
Right.
Because we have,
What's the car rate?
25 an hour
25?
per car.
But they charge an administrative, the whole thing, so you do get a little piece of the action on both the salary and the car.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor this point, but just want to go back to my initial question about the overtime again, right? So if you look at page 4, right, I mean, and again, this is probably, when you look at this, probably simplified, right? But when we just take it correctly, right, there's a 251 vacation days that you can cover for a year. I feel like one person, just a one. I mean, your person works 40 hours a week, you know.
new person, you have to pay all that
Sure, I think, yeah.
days and everything, you say, David, how much that officer costs, doesn't say how much that officer costs for the people replacing that hours for that officer. to do it.
That's good, yeah.
I mean, that's no complicated, I think, with that. So. And plus whatever benefits they would pick, you never know
Right.
what they're gonna choose.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Yeah. And that's a slightly different question. So, but I appreciate the car situation. And so I think when we were talking and we had this discussion about the cars and the board of finance quite a bit. And I think a while back when we paid off the not the mortgage,
finance.
the finance, thank you, that we basically continue to basically earmark that same amount to pay. And I thought we were gonna go into a situation where we were able to replace 1 or 2 cars every year and just keep it that way. The way we're doing now, we're constantly buying. I lost count in terms of how many you're actually asking for. You're asking for 9 total in this round?
Yes, it's, well,
Well, 3 now and 6 after July 1st.
Right, but in this round, it's 9.
it will be, yeah.
Right,
be 9.
so then 4, 5, 6 years from now, we've been another 9.
Yeah, I don't think, we haven't received the car since last,
This should have been done a year ago.
yeah, but the last time we got cars, it was 21. So-
Right,
So we're,
and so if we wanted to go to a system where we are replacing on a regular basis, we're not gonna get it that way.
Well, it's hard because you're in a situation right now where these cars need to be replaced, so where you go and buy 3 of them? Or if we get the 9, we tuck 6 of them away and don't use them, so we don't have to replace them, that's like the worst thing you can do for a car is have it sit.
Good.
This cycle would have had to start a long time ago, right now, at this given point, we're at the point where we need to replace them.
And I reduced it from what we got in 21. I think it was 12 cars in 21. Don't remember. So it was more hard. I know I cut the number back from what the ask was. And we did lose a car. We gave a car to the fire marshal. So, you know, I mean,
Right, I'm not saying that we shouldn't get the car, I'm just wondering how we can basically get to a system where we are funding, a replacement of, a regular replacement of 2, 3 cars.
yeah, I think then you're doubling down on the finance in the same year where you're, so if we, you know, we gotta pay for these cars and then you're adding more cars to the finance expense, and you're just kind of increasing that number. The beauty of this is direct.
We talked about this at length at our police commission meetings. The cars need extra maintenance, the longer you keep them out of the maintenance budget goes way out of whack. So having all the cars and having them under warranty at a specific time seems to be a more prudent budgeting factor.
George, I think what you're saying is if we replaced, I don't want to put words in, 2 to 3 cars a year.
Right.
Yeah.
In perpetuity, right?
Right.
Keep going, right?
Yeah.
Then it's the expense that you can plan on.
Yeah, and I wish we're in that position right now, but I think. You know, we need to replace some of these cars and I don't know. 3 is really gonna do it right now. Trying to find a maintenance budget. So obviously all the cars are out of warranty, so we're paying for all of the maintenance on the cars at this point.
Staggered by, so it's hard to replace them.
Yeah, good, but it's gotta be way much, yeah.
Really, really old or turn them over when they're on.
No, we'll go the other way, right?
Yeah.
Stop buying sooner, right?
Yeah.
If you start buying sooner, then you suddenly pick up.
Vehicle maintenance accounts, I know we're well overspent. So the vehicle maintenance accounts at $15,000.
Yeah, $15,000.
Yeah, it's relatively low and it really covers tires and oil changes and brakes. We're in a position now where we're having some major maintenance, you know, transmissions and things that we have to replace.
Would these all be combustion engine or any EVs? I know years ago, we were more hopeful about that, of course, but
Yeah.
basic combustion engines.
Yeah, it's just the regular Tahoe. Probably Chevy really dove into that yet. I did handed before I left, I ordered a electric pickup truck. It was a Ford Lightning. They're still waiting for it. I ordered a.
Yeah, they're expensive, but over time, maintenance is lower once you get the price down.
That's the problem.
We'll see. We'll see.
You know,
It's
so.
a promise.
And then the longevity might not be there, so I don't really wanna be the test department here.
No.
So if I get a car and all of a sudden I gotta replace these batteries, it's the car, it might not be worth the value of the car.
Leading edge.
So I don't really know the answer to that. I kinda want somebody else to
Mhm.
be the pilot.
Mhm.
One of the things I heard, when I was running for office, a lot of constituents brought up the size of the police vehicles. And, you know, I don't know enough about it, but is there I think some other towns have sedans or, you know, and I imagine the larger the vehicle, you know, the less fuel efficiency, but also maintenance. Tire, you mentioned tires. It's like a tire for a Tahoe is gonna be a lot more than a tire for another. Is that? I certainly know most towns, it seems, have gone towards that, but there are some that don't. Is there a benefit one way or the other to buying the bigger, presumably more expensive cars? Maybe they're not even more expensive, I don't know.
No, they're pretty comparable to the Explorer in terms of the cost. But yes, you're right, the maintenance on the Tahoe is a little more, I wouldn't say it's astronomically more. The tires are maybe $50 more per tire. The reason, and Carl actually brought this up, maybe we should transition back to Explorers. The reason that I wanted to stay with the Tahoe is the amount of equipment we have in there, would never fit in the Explorer. We have the entire compartment behind the driver's seat. is all our tactical equipment, we have ballistic shields in those cars. And medical equipment is pretty substantial, you know, it was one of the things I was impressed by when I came here. And hats off to Chief Spear for doing it, like, I've never seen vehicles that are better outfitted, better equipped. And I don't wanna be the chief that reduces that on the officers and starts taking equipment away, especially that now that they're used to that equipment and having access to that equipment. Don't having to share that equipment, you know, and then, you know, one of the things that came up is, the armored doors, we have ballistic panels on the doors. And I haven't seen it before, it's about $1,600 per door. And I thought it was something that we talked about trimming, and we thought, you know, maybe it isn't necessary. I think it is actually necessary, because now our officers are accustomed to that. They're trained that way, they're using that as cover when they're on certain calls. And I don't wanna be the chief to come in and take that away, and then the officer's used to using the door as a barrier, and you know, one car has it, the other one doesn't, and they're looking for a label on the door to figure out what car, and you know, so. I don't want that on my conscience, to be fully honest, for $3,000, I do not think that was worth it. So I think the equipment, is necessary, and it's not gonna fit in an Explorer.
Okay, so the size, you need the full size 9-passenger,
Yeah,
get all your shields and tactical stuff. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so, and it's been really well set up, they're good cars, you know, I think we had some problems with them. And that was the other concern is, you know, Tahoe was more holding up. We think that was more a model year thing, it was during COVID, and there were some issues when they first rolled out. The agencies we're talking to now that have newer Tahoes on the experiencing problems.
Thank you.
I think, wasn't there also discussion when we switched from Explorers to Tahoes for officer comfort too? That I recall there was some conversation about some folks thought that Explorers weren't to sit in for 8 hours, especially with all the gear that was in there or something.
I think
Am I remembering that right?
Trump too, like, there was so much stuff you couldn't see out the back window.
And we went through the strategic planning session, and that's when both the police officers said they would prefer the Tahoe. And some of the towns that have the cars might not be the first responders, they might not be the medical people, so they don't need the bigger vehicles. You know, that needs to be investigated, people are gonna say, oh, they have cars. So somebody should go take a look at one of the cars one day, they're full.
Next time somebody asks me, I'll tell them to do that.
Is there an accounting anywhere for, is there like property seizure funds that you
Yeah, so
use? Yeah,
there is, it's just, you know, it's not substantial here.
it's not.
Other cities, Hampton has a pretty substantial fund. But it's just, you know, we don't have any issues here. But there's some source of revenue there, but we're only talking $2,000. So.
And we have utilized that of the full withdrawal budget account, that's been used in the past to get different things. Like safety equipment.
Yes, sir.
I have last question, sorry, so, in your operational expenses, so, you know, what you're asking is actually very moderate, where your operational expenses only 9% of your total budget, and what you're asking is about 9% as well, so it's, you know, it's less than 1% of your total budget, so it's very minimal. And I appreciate that you're trying to, map the what you actually need, as opposed to using money from, unspent salary fund, like that, or second, which would do this. The question I have is your police or other supplies, you're not asking for any increases at all. You're starting at 15.5 and you're still asking at 15.5. That seems to be like a place where potentially there may be shortages. In the past, that has been a line item as greatly exceeded what you had for. And so I'm just wondering whether that is with.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the actual was on that. So, you know, we're close on that. So our actual is 16,900. I didn't know within, yeah, I didn't think it'd be necessary to increase that.
I'm trying to see if I can, I may not be able to find it fast enough, but I think in the past, maybe not the quick 25, but quickly here.
So what, that account for ammunition and where you probably saw an anomaly is when we had when you got to train officers, if the ammunition is very expensive and it's considerable amount of ammunition you have to use in the basic academy. So if we're training more than 1, 2 officers, you're gonna probably see $1,000 worth of ammunition going to one officer.
Sure.
So if we're training 5 or 6 in a year, you're gonna see a substantial amount going towards ammunition.
Just saying, maybe.
Yeah, you know,
Maybe,
yeah, so I was trying to identify the outliers and where the anomalies are and why there's some spikes. You know, with Jen's help and Stephanie's help, I think we came down to a realistic, right siding of the budget.
but again, I mean, you asked for the operations are big on it.
Thank you.
Increase it, George.
Sorry?
You can increase it if you want.
The training, the trailer training, I saw it once. I would, it's kind of neat to watch.
Yeah.
I see Mark nodding his head.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The mobile.
Yeah, it may
Jump
be,
shoot?
it may be something that when you have it, if it's safe,
Yeah.
have, folks see it.
No, we very well could. I mean, and I've seen that done quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to allow, civilian to make those decisions in those circumstances and, you know.
I did that.
Yeah, so.
Probably shoot or not shoot.
And not a good shot, it's healing.
To see,
Quit your day job.
You don't carry a gun, do you?
Guys,
Wow.
but you know, the stress you're under in those situations. And the decisions you have to make how quickly and, you know.
it's awful.
So it's very valuable training and you know, if you didn't fund it, I would find the funding to make it happen. To be completely honest, it's that important to me. Anyone else have questions? Yes,
So I mean, I apologize, right, because tonight we're in the weeds, but I might just add one more, so.
Yeah.
I have the benefit of Leanne's summary sheet, so the benefit, it's line item or some number 43. 54,300, it's the repairs and maintenance.
Is it the building or the,
I'm not sure, right, and I kind of have to find, 54,300. On your sheet, so I'm not exactly sure which one it is.
that is,
Your maintenance, that's vehicle maintenance.
yeah, it's be up here. So that's fifth, that's what I was looking for. I actually circled it. I don't know if I didn't find it. So we budgeted that at 15,000. What we spent is 68,000. So that shows you the maintenance that we're putting into these vehicles.
Okay, and so and that one went up 10?
No, it didn't. So we're anticipating infusing some new cars into the fleet and being able to handle that.
I mean, that's the one where every single unit path needs,
The same thing with new tires, obviously, if you already own new tires.
so this is one of the cases where it's hard to budget, realistically.
Right,
So if you don't get the new cars, you're gonna have to adjust the maintenance budget.
yes.
You know, I'll just say, and I'm a car guy, but I mean, we're looking to, kind of brand old Saybrook with all the beautiful things going on. I mean, I think having a, good looking fleet and recent fleet, if it can be budgeted, kind of makes a statement to the town. So I love those Tahoes. And when I moved to town 18 months ago, and I'm a car guy, a Chevy guy, I mean, they're good looking cars. So I think there's an incidental benefit of, kind of having a recent fleet where it can be, budgeted.
Yeah, there's something to be said about looking professional and looking sharp. You pull up to a scene or a call or a car that looks like garbage and smoking. Your presence is already diminished. So I think there's more to just having a nice car and having a clean car. It's it's through the presence of the professionalism as well.
And the safety.
Yep. I think that's it. Thank you.
You have another one.
No, I don't, I just want to thank you again, thank you very much, and I thank you for indulging my question.
No, no problem.
I will say that, just since we're got done with the budget part of this, from where I sit, I've had a very nice community response to the chief, not only, in interactions, but getting back to people. I have a lot of people who contact me who want, or something about, in fact, today. I get a lot of requests, why can't I have a speed bump on my road? Cars go too fast. And I give him the chief's address and he's very kind in getting back to folks. That I find to be just, I hope you keep it up because it's really important for the community to be able to have a communication with their chief and know you're getting back to them. And if it's not you, someone else, I mean, you may be too busy, but I've had more than a few people say he got right back to me. And from where I sit, that means a lot. So hey, I just want to compliment you and I hope that you're able to continue that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very informative.
Thank
You
you.
need to understand.
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody. I don't want to, I'm better before.
So everyone go right around, just introduce yourselves. Okay.
George Chang.
Mark Hand, and I'm one of those people, you got back immediately. I think it was probably your third or fourth day too. I was really impressed, I'm bragging about you.
I'm James Left.
Got you, Rick. Eric the Self. I live right around the corner from the station too, so. Steve Jeremy. That pocket.
I know we get.
Jerry Lewis.
Here as well.
Sure.
All right, thank you, chief.
Thanks for coming in.
We need a motion to adjourn.
No,
Whenever you're done.
no, we're having a joint meeting still. So I don't think you guys even really call the meeting and speak at me. Don't worry about it. You want to? I mean, just. So we're, working on a new employee handbook. I'll just do a quick summary of some of the stuff I'm working on. The, let's see. We got a commitment to fund $4 million North Main Street project. It's called Local Transportation Capital Improvement Project. How many of you remember when we rebuilt North Main Street with the sidewalk on both sides? That was the same type of thing. This is a grant to put sidewalks on Stage Road and then on Route 1 from CVS and Beard Lumber down to Saybrook Home in Kentucky Farm. There'll be a crosswalk. That's a, there'll be a crosswalk going from Saybrook Home to Starbucks. So that'll be a four-way crosswalk now.
That's right.
Yeah, poster by the post office? By the post office,
And,
like.
Actually Saybrook Home,
Okay, so.
In front of the
Diagonal?
intersection.
going to Starbucks, kind of across the street.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, that, we got a commitment to fund from the state on that, so that looks like it's at DOT for review, it's fully designed. That's probably a late 26, maybe 27 project.
That's 100%?
100% funded, including construction, inspection and everything. It's
Nice.
an unusual type of grant that you have to qualify for. We've only gotten one other, and that was the North Main Street project. It really is to encourage
The train station there.
different modalities of transportation, so
So that makes that intersection a four-way.
it does,
Full crosswalk.
it does.
Oh, that'd be very fun.
Yeah, we say for.
It's not safe. Right now.
A lot of people are
They
probably.
got you.
And we are exploring, I have a meeting
I know my office.
next week, to explore solar. We're definitely gonna put solar on the fire department roof, it's brand new. We have to do some roof work here, so what we're hoping, and I have them hooked up with the Board of Education too, the middle school. Middle school is really a prime project if the Board of Education is interested in it. I know it's come before the board in the past. But Pam and Chris are going to listen to a presentation to perhaps do some solar, and
So did we miss out on the rebates?
no, nope, not on solar you didn't.
Okay.
But anyway, that's.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so that thing, the chief, of police is our new emergency management director. And the fire marshal, Nelson Wang, is our new deputy fire marshal, deputy, emergency management director.
So then, I mean, what he was talking about, the increased electricity use at the police station and the HVAC, any thoughts about putting whether solar panels and or heat pumps there?
Oh, I'm not a fan of heat pumps.
Really?
I mean, the library's had a hell of an issue with heat pumps over the years, but I'm not, I don't know that, roof is older over there, that's one of the issues, you gotta be able to put solar on a roof that's gonna sustain it for the next 20 years. We looked at that, I can have them look at it again to see what they think, but. So, anyway, that's it, I just. Not much else, I'm like, I don't know, I'm tired or what, right?
Join the club.
Anything else on your?
No, there's nothing else. Any comments from anybody else? No?
That was.
Scott, Jane, anything?
That was very good. Yeah, appreciate it.
Available online. Anybody?
Oh,
You should have that in the.
Right, any comments?
You got that in the agenda.
any comments online? Raise your hand if you choose to.
Actually, days on the gallery in.
Guest and Saybrook guest.
Wow. Very good. We need a,
Jane or Scott, no?
Not at this time, no.
I have no comment, thanks. All right.
You entertain a motion.
what's it, adjourn?
Sure, and I'll make a motion.
Seeing on the board of selectmen, we're.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.